being taken in and out. It's almost straight up and down here.
Yes, I took it apart for him last week just to show the basics, but
Yeah.
I didn't take that part out.
Yeah, this like I said, this is always the toughest one to get in and out of the processor. And it has to be maintained, because if it's not, you're going to come out with some nasty films. And the first person they're going to want to look at is you. You see something here.
And by the way, that was the power switch on that back corner. The on-off button for the machine.
Somewhere we have the power cord.
So that is that a pause, or I have to stop?
You have to stop it.
Oh man,
iPhones.
they're supposed to be just so great. Like,
No, right?
Okay,
you get a
so
pause.
Right.
this control right here has all the plugs for everything in it. So you'll see blue is the water solenoid, and then it has a dryer fan, which is this fan. Each one of them is plugged into this unit. So what I typically do when I'm going to run it is I unplug the chemical pad, because we don't really need that on at this moment, because I'm just going to set this rack in its place while I got it apart. It's much easier to do. Well, it is locked in, as you can tell. The rollers are turning, so we know that it's locked into its keyway that it's supposed to be. See our low temperature light? That'll flash until it reaches temperature. But since I got it unplugged, it's not going to reach temperature. So, and that's basically all there is to that rack. You have these separate partitions in here for the film to dry, because the fan is blowing. There's a heating element on the other side of this that creates heat, so the fan's actually pushing the heat through to dry the film. So, and then you have these little baffles, and they go down in here just to block all the air from leaving this unit, so it can actually dry the film. That's it. So I would tell you, there's books on telling you how to take this apart and putting it back together. You get a maintenance sheet here, which tells you what you need to do every day, once a week, and then monthly. These are your procedures. And once you get used to doing this, then you just become just like secondhand. It's like you know exactly what to do. So 80% of failures on the processor is what?
The temperature and the...
Close. 80% of all failures on the processor has to do with maintenance, proper maintenance. If proper maintenance is being taken care of the processor, you ain't gonna have any problem. But if you're calling me out there, it's usually because of maintenance. So, and then, but you can have problems because there's a lot of things that are going on in this processor. There's a lot of gears that are turning, and wheels, and everything's in motion. The more things you have in motion, the more likely you can have something go wrong too. Then we'll just plug this pad back in here. Is everything gonna be Fitz today? It's Fitz Day today. It's kind of loud.
Especially when we're right up on it, huh?
Yeah, it's like, woo, hey. Right one here.
When you get to the point to where it's put back together, I have chemicals. Would you
Okay.
be able to
Yes.
put those in?
Yep.
I want to make sure I told them about Fixer and how the system is set up for that to be removed and all. So
Oh, I just lost the plug for the heating pad. Where did you go? There it is.
Look at this one. I think it.
Storage, right?
And now our heating pad's on.
heating pads.
And it's
blue
already
pad.
getting warm.
Blue pad on the bottom.
So it's very important that you take and make sure you unplug the heating pad when you're cleaning this. And a lot of times what we try to do when we set up offices now, we try to have the sprayer close to this so you can spray all this down, because chemicals get in here and it gets pretty nasty. I feel like you need rubber gloves that go up to your elbows when you clean these things. That's our washer dryer. These ones here are color coded. You can tell on the racks, developer and fixer. These are your trays that your chemicals go into. So with your fixer, though, you have to capture the fixer. You can no longer pour it down the drain like you used to do in days of old. Now it has to be collected and disposed of properly, because fixer contains silver. And that silver they don't want into the drain lines and into our drinking water and everything else. So we want to make sure to get that out. So then you get your racks in here, your trays, you put your stoppers in. They're just basically old rubber stoppers.
Don't forget those. I
Yeah.
put the whole machine back together. Forget those. Pour my solutions in, and they run right out.
And this is the temperature sensor, right? We're just going to slide that back over the tray just like that. As long as that is in the solution, it's sensing the temperature of it. Now, we don't have to pour chemicals in here if you don't want to.
Well,
You're going to start using it?
Mhm.
Okay, so,
we are.
all right, so then we're going to pour the solutions in. What we want to do is put our racks in here.
If you don't mind, I have them to your left. When I told you.
And that's basically it. You want to, again, make sure that these don't rock
Yeah.
back and forth. If they
Does it
rock
have-
back
is
and
it gonna
forth,
stop at a certain time?
then that means they're unlevel and you need to straighten it out.
9 minutes.
And that's basically it. Now we can add our developer. They're usually, sometimes they're not color coded. So what I will tell you to do with all of them is just read the label. Make sure it says developer or fixer. All right. Now, another important step here is to add chemical to this. Is there's a procedure. So even though this is first, we want to put fixer in here first before we put developer. The reason why we want to put fixer in there first is because all it takes is 3 drops of fixer into the developer and it kills it. The developer is no good. So you don't want to splash that into your developer. So basically, one way of preventing it is with putting the lid on here, like that. That helps. We can take our developer.
And then developer lid has writing on it. DEV
Right.
stands for developer. We don't want to even mix the lids up.
Now,
Is it old?
here's another thing. When you take this stuff off,
If it's old, we have a new one. There's a new gallon too, so we don't have to
Kind
use
of
it.
crusty.
well, it's been opened.
It'll get crushed in.
It's been open, so, but the chemical itself is good. The thing you want to do is when you take these off, when you peel this label off and stuff, take it all off. Don't leave it on, because you see that crusty stuff? That's what happens. Now, if you had the lid off of there, or the stuff off of there, that would have never happened. And we just pour that in.
How you know when to stop?
Right.
Well, you stop or you run all over the floor. No, I'm kidding. Usually, typically, when it gets to the top of the rollers, then it's time to stop.
Shantae, next bottle.
So when it covers the top of the rollers, then that usually tells you it's
Can I
time to
pick
stop. Now,
Think like a dental assistant.
with that being said, there is an overflow on those. So you can't really overfill it because it will go out to waste.
So do we need to use our first gallon as our, what am I trying to say? Used receptacle? For the-
Yes. So either use that as your catch receptacle, or sometimes they'll have a collection tank down below collecting that. So do we have that? We don't.
No.
Okay, so
Is it gonna be too heavy to use the one you have? Is it gonna? If we set it
put
up,
this.
I wonder if it's gonna fall over.
What's that? This?
Mm-hmm. The one,
Well,
the empty one. Will it work okay
Yeah, it
without
should.
falling over?
What I'm gonna do is put it inside that bucket over there too.
Okay.
There's a bucket down here. Now, this is the overflow or the drain
Oh, you're fine.
for the fixer. We only have to collect the fixer, like I said. The developer doesn't have to be collected, just the fixer. I'll put that in that bucket in a little bit.
Well,
So
Shantae,
anything
get
that
it for
goes
you now.
over the overflow will actually be collected into that bottle right there. When you drain it, it'll collect into that bottle.
She's thinking like a dental assistant. She knows it needs to be done, so she's just taking the initiative. Thank you,
Very good.
Shantae.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's see how it looks.
Okay, so we've added our developer. The next add to this now is the fixer.
we added our
We added the
fixer.
fixer, now the next is the developer, I'm sorry.
Fixer, developer, the washer.
So fixer is labeled FIX, and it has the blue lid. Developer is the one that was DEV, red lid.
Like I said, in the real world, this is all set up so you have these color codes. But a lot of times in the real world, they're all the bottles are just labeled with black lettering, and one says developer, one says fixer. So make sure you always read it. And there we are.
Just enough to cover the rollers.
So we're up to the rollers, which means our film is going to go in between those rollers, which means it's going to be submerged into the solution.